Lovely. All right, and then that just lets us sync up everything real easily. But all right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about, well, go ahead and tell us your name and where you're from and all that fun jazz, what you're majoring in.
Okay. So when do I start?
Whenever you're ready. So, also, you can go ahead and you can talk to me. It'll actually have you just looking off camera. So yeah. All right.
My name is mo1. I'm originally from Bangladesh, but I've been living in Bloomington, Indiana since 1997. I was actually from Bloomington High School North, so I came to Indiana University starting in 2008, and I'm currently a senior applying to graduate schools. I'm majoring in biology, and initially I started my college career wanting to be a doctor, like most biology majors here do, but soon discovered that I enjoy the research aspect of it more. Whereas being a doctor has significant clinical applications and people-people interactions, I discovered that unlike the esoteric view that's often portrayed about scientists, that they're actually really social too, and the part about science that I find fascinating is you get to explore new questions every day.
Okay, cool. So, tell us a little bit about the research you do. Like, what do you do here?
So my research actually spans two different areas, both of them based around the fruit fly. I do genetics in context of evolution and ecology. So one thing I'm really interested in is how does energy production, how does that change over environments? So the project I do is we have mutations that affect energy production, and I put mutant fruit flies across different environments and see how they're performing. Because while fruit flies themselves are obviously not human, almost all of the foundational pathways that gives fruit flies their energy and us our energy are the same.
Okay. So, how'd you kind of get started with this?
So I think, as with everything else, luck played a huge part. I was late signing up for classes, and there were 3 biology introductory courses. The one I signed up for was at the best time possible so that I could sleep in. But it turned out that it was the first semester that my professor was teaching, and she had just gotten to IU. So, from the first day of class, I knew that I wanted to at least learn more about what she was teaching, because she would come before class, she would show Planet Earth videos, she would talk about biology as a really active discipline, citing research that had just come out, professors from the department, what they were doing. So when I would walk around, the building, I would see a person and be like, oh wow, I just read one of your papers, you're doing this. So after that semester ended, I asked to join her lab, and she gave me a project, I started working on that. I got to meet the people I saw around the place, and that, I think, was the biggest part, because I started feeling at home in Jordan Hall, and as soon as that happened, it was like a pleasure to come into work every day. Because I would do my project, I would go talk to them about what worked, what didn't, so it would either be a good job or been there, done that.
Okay, so when you first came to IU, did you really have a real set kind of plan in mind for what you wanted to do?
I wanted to be a doctor just because I think for people who are interested in the biological sciences, that's a really good starting point, and it's a very safe and sound one. You have career stability, you have social prestige, you make a good check, you help people. But yeah, when you see something that you really like, you kind of know, and the more you try at it, and when you like it even after things don't work, that's when you really know you like it, and that happened with me in research.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the grants that you received from the Hutton Honors Colleges? And when you talk about Hutton, be sure and use the word Hutton Honors College.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how's the Hutton Honors College helped you out kind of throughout your college career?
Not to sound over dramatic, but the Hutton Honors College actually made my biology college career possible, because I was classified as an international student up until earlier this year, which meant that I couldn't really apply for federal and state-funded research grants, even though I've lived in America for over a decade. So the Hutton Honors College was one of the few funding sources I had. And the way science is you just have to put in numbers of hours before things really click. And I feel like almost most difficult things are like that. So a really, really crucial part was summer research. So because I had several different scholarships over the years from the Hutton Honors College, I was just able to not worry about having to get another job and just spend that time developing myself as a scientist, as a teaching assistant in the department, and just as a person in the context of a lab citizen and a science citizen. And all of that was made possible because I did have that financial support from the Hutton Honors College.
Okay, great.
Okay, were there any honors courses that sparked your interest? Not necessarily in the sciences. It seems like you took a. Did you take a class with Ed?
I haven't taken a class with him, but I have taken several humanities classes.
Okay. Were there any that stood out in your mind that were honors that were interesting?
One of the best classes I have taken. So I was also almost an English major, but so I actually did start taking Hutton Honors College classes since my freshman year, and have still in one. But one of the absolute best classes, period, that I have taken was, I believe it's termed an interdepartmental colloquia class, and Gareth Evans was teaching it in the spring semester of my freshman year, and the class was on Moby Dick. So here's a text that obviously has lore in American literature, but rarely ever can a person just sit down and read it just because it's a dense book. But what we did in that class was we read other works of Melville to frame Moby Dick. Then we as a class, consisting of 6 people, went through few chapters at a time, and it was phenomenal. Just, that was the point where I really started noticing a difference between high school and college classes, because the students who had signed up for that class were also really interested and intensely analytic. So we analyzed chapter by chapter, and we just really started to see, one, the details of the book in terms of it being an encyclopedia, quite literally for its time, on an industry which defined America for a while, that history books often ignore, and at the same time, what the bigger picture was. And by the end of the class, you know, you go into Moby Dick thinking about Captain Ahab, one-legged captain who's out for revenge. And some people, myself included, walked away thinking, wow, Ahab really is not that different than any of us. And I think that's what a liberal education is for, so you can make those connections. And since then, I've taken several classes, including one on Japan and the atomic bomb, which I feel like really, really elucidated an important historical time for me from multiple perspectives, including Japanese comic books to American Senate hearings. Another fantastic class was Ideas and Experiences, which I think most people that come into the Honors College do take, and it's just a very solid foundation for literature. And that literature, it's not always put in the references because it's such an important part of history, but having a good foundation with the classics, I think, makes everything else that followed from there much more understandable and appreciable.
Okay. All right.